Hello everyone out there in YouTube land. This is the Southern Fried Yankee bringing you greetings from the volunteer state and another video. This one's not going to be dark like my last one was about the Democratic Party. This one's going to be a lot lighter in tone unless you happen to be a gun writer. For magazines, then you might not like it because it's about you, gun writers. But as far as everybody else is concerned, it should be rather enjoyable and maybe even a little educational for all you gun novices out there. So, let's begin. Now, I've noticed that gun writers, pretty much across the board, no matter what magazine they write for, they all say the same things, they all misuse the same words, and they always, they all make the same common, I don't know what to call them, mistakes, I suppose. But anyway, the same common peeves that bug me. Okay, let's call it that. Because this is a personal rant. I'm not saying, it's not the end of the world. It's nothing of any great consequence. It's just things that get under my skin. So, peeve number 1. Whenever they review a gun, they always have a heading of magazine capacity. Now, based on the heading of this category, it should be pretty straightforward. Your magazine holds 6, 7, 8, 10, 15, 17, however many cartridges fit in the magazine for that specific gun. That is its magazine capacity. But then, once they tell you what the magazine capacity is, for some reason they've just got to throw this little superfluous, annoying +1 at the end of it. What's the deal? I know. The +1 means, well, there's one in the chamber. Yeah, but the chamber is a completely separate part of the gun from the magazine. They're two different things. One round in the chamber does not make the gun have more rounds in the magazine. And loading the magazine to capacity does not mean the chamber can hold more than one cartridge. Now, where did all this come from? Well, I've got my suspicions. How many of you out there have seen the first Lethal Weapon movie with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover? Well, there's a scene in the movie where they're showing each other their guns. Mel Gibson's checking out Danny Glover's revolver, and Danny Glover checks out Mel Gibson's Beretta, and he comments how it holds 15 in the mag and 1 in the pipe. Okay, there you go. You got the 15 and the 1. And it seems like ever since that movie came out, all the gun writers for all the magazines, I don't care who the publisher is, are now tacking +1 on the ends of the magazine capacity heading for that statistic. Okay? Seriously, guys. A chamber only holds 1 cartridge. I don't care what gun it is. I don't care where it was made. Anybody out there, if you happen to know of any gun at any time in the entire history of firearms, I don't care who made it, I don't care where it was made, if you know of a gun that holds more than 1 cartridge in the chamber, somebody let me know. Until then, come on, gun writers, get with it. Peeve number 2, the term full auto. Seriously, guys, it's automatic, okay? I mean, what do you have, a gun with a special selector switch? Go safe, semi, maybe you're really cool and it's got a burst setting, and then where does it go from there? What, 3/4 auto, and then full auto? Guys, it's automatic, or auto if you want to save space. Okay? You just can't get any more automatic than automatic. Come on, guys, this full auto crap, I don't know, maybe you think it sounds cool, maybe you think it makes the gun seem cooler, but honestly, my opinion, it makes it sound like you're amateurs, okay? You're supposed to be professional writers, okay? Let's stop with the hype, the full auto. Okay, on to number 3, and that is beaver tails. Now, what is a beaver tail? A beaver tail is a style of grip safety for M1911 series pistols. Now, the purpose for them was back in the 70s and 80s when a lot of competition was, when shooting competitions were spreading and becoming more and more popular. Guys started complaining that their 1911 type pistols, the hammers were coming back and smacking them in the web of the hands, or the slides were coming back and cutting their hands during recoil. And I gotta admit, especially if you've got some pretty beefy hands, that can be pretty painful. So the custom pistol smiths of the time invented what they called the beaver tail grip safety. And what this was is a style of grip safety that would extend back over the web of the hand, pushing it down and out of the way of the slide and the hammer. Okay, and just so you can see what I'm talking about, I have some examples with me right here. This is my Colt Gold Cup National match. Okay, here's the grip safety for all you novices out there. Now, as you can see, with the hammer back, the grip safety extends beyond the spur of the hammer. And if you can see, it is also wider, almost 3 times as wide as the hammer. And this will quite effectively get your hand down and out of the way of the hammer and the slide. Next, we have the Taurus PT 1911. Now, the beaver tail grip safety on this one is fairly typical of the styles you'll see on pretty much every 1911 nowadays. You can see down here it's got a bump to make, because apparently a lot of people were having trouble getting a firm enough grip on their pistols to deactivate the grip safety. So that bump is there to give you a little bit of extra contact with your hand to make sure that grip safety is deactivated. And you can see how it comes up here. It swings back over the web of your hand, and it even has a little bit of a recurve here. And if you look down inside, it's even got a notch cut into it. And what that does is it comes back and it actually cups the spur of the hammer like that. You can see the spur going down inside the notch. And if you look, this beaver tail is about twice as wide as the hammer. And it comes back and you can see how it puts itself between my hand and the upper portion of the gun, the hammer and the slide. And it effectively keeps my hand out of the way of those moving pieces. And last but not least is my Sig Sauer 1911-22. Now this one, it's got the grip safety has no speed bump down here, but up here in the recurved portion, that has got to be the most extravagant beaver tail I've ever seen. That has just got a crazy amount of recurve on it. However, you can see it's also got that notch cut into it, so it cups the hammer. You can see it's about twice as wide as the hammer, and as extreme as it does a really good job of keeping my hand out of the way of the hammer and the slide. So, crazy looking as it is, it's still an effective beaver tail grip safety. Now, just because the 1911 series pistols have beaver tails, it seems that gunwriters started giving beaver tails to every gun from any manufacturer of any type. They started giving them all beaver tails. Well, the beaver tail on this gun is pretty small, and the beaver tail on this gun is not very effective. You know what? Those guns don't have beaver tails. Not every gun has a beaver tail, okay? And I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is a Sig Sauer P226. Notice the very short extension of the frame in the back. Notice how the spur of the hammer actually extends beyond the frame. Okay, that's because this is not a beaver tail. This piece right here is called a tang. It is part of the frame. It is not a separate piece. It is a tang. Okay? This is a Taurus PT99. Now you notice the rear extension of the frame extends a bit farther than the P226. But if you'll notice, it doesn't cup the hammer. It doesn't really push my hand down out of the way. That's because this is not a beaver tail. This is also a tang. Okay? Can you say tang, boys and girls? I knew you could. And last but not least, this is a Springfield Armory mil-spec M1911 Alpha 1. As you can see, the grip safety on this pistol is just about as wide as the hammer. It doesn't extend back very far. Doesn't do a whole heck of a lot to keep my hand down out of the way. In fact, you can probably see the flesh of my hand building up around the rear of the tang there. And indeed, the spur of the hammer projects further than the grip safety. That's because this grip safety is not a beaver tail. This is a standard type grip safety. And in case you're wondering, yes, the M1911 series pistols have a tang. Okay? The portions of the frame that you can see the grip safety sitting in between are the tang. The back of the frame comes up, comes back, and then goes back up to where the frame joins the slide. That piece is the tang, not a beaver tail. This is a standard grip safety, not a beaver tail. So just because all your favorite high-end M1911 type pistols have beaver tail grip safeties on them does not mean every other pistol has a beaver tail. Not even if it's a 1911, it might not have a beaver tail. Got it? Thanks. On to peeve number 4. The misuse of the term serrated or serrations. Now, if you listen to gun writers, once again, it's almost every single one out there, your guns are serrated. Be careful. When you shoot them, you might want to wear a heavy pair of gloves, like maybe the type used for stringing barbed wire. Otherwise, your guns are going to cut your hands to pieces because they are serrated. If you listen to the gun writers, let's see. This back here is a serrated portion of the gun. The top of the slide, can you see those lines? Those lines are there because the top of the gun is serrated. And you better watch your eyes because you see those lines on the back of the rear sight? It's serrated. You might cut your eyeballs open. Front of the grip frame. Whoa, serrated. Oh my God. You know, to listen to the gun writers, at the end of a shooting session, your fingers are going to be worn down to bloody nubs. Your guns are so serrated. It's ridiculous. All right, everybody out there. You want to see what serrated really is? I'll show you. I'll be right back. I'm back. Now, just so you all know, this is serrated. And you see the jagged edge on there? That's serrated. These are serrations. These are not what you find on your gun. Okay? Want to see what a serrated edge does? I got a piece of summer sausage here that I'm going to cut. See if I can get this camera down to where you can see. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. Cutting through there. Now, for the knife, see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little pieces of meat that got torn off of the sausage on the knife. And let's get a look at the sausage here. Well, I was expecting the cut to be a bit rougher, but it actually made a fairly smooth cut, which is nice. Let's check the other piece. Yeah, there's a little bit of tearing over. Yeah, you can see where the meat got torn. I don't know if you can actually see it, but the surface of the meat isn't smooth. It's torn. That's what serrated edges do. Okay? That is not the texturing on your gun. Okay? What you have on your gun is, let me look at my notes here. Let's see. Alternatives to using serrations and more accurate terms to use instead of serration is grooved, ridged, textured, scored, or striated. So what are some synonyms for serrated? Let's see. Jagged or toothed, as in a saw blade. Okay? That's not something you want on your gun. So come on, gun writers. You're supposed to be professionals. Invest in a thesaurus. You can probably get one for about $3 or $4 at a used bookstore. All right? Let's go. Get on the ball. Damn, dog, can't you think?